In his most recent New York Times column, David Leonhardt makes the point that we are not going to be able to turn to the CDC for ultimate guidance on how to navigate the upcoming weeks and months of COVID policy because the CDC's job is to maximize health as one variable, and all of us for forever have made decisions about how to live in which we balance the perspective of health with other perspectives. So, for example, the CDC tells us not to eat red meat that is medium rare or rare, but only eat meat that is cooked more fully, right? That's a way to maximize our safety, and many of us will balance that consideration with other considerations of like how we prefer to have our meat cooked, for example. Okay, I'm not going to weigh in on whether he's right or wrong or about COVID policy. That's way above my pay grade. But I found it so interesting because he explicitly uses describes health as one value among many, which is a metaphor for halakha. That a really provocative essay I read decades ago by Shai Kivner-Wozner makes it an essay. It's a book, a collection of essays, a collection of essays on halakha by various Israeli intellectuals and rabbis and academics. Published in 2008, and his article really is addressing the question of what does it mean to be loyal to halakha. It's a question that is always interesting, and it's relevant for this week's parsha. Parsha Tetzaveh is in the name of the parsha is the fact that the mitzvot are commanded. The mitzvot are not good ideas. Mitzvot are commandments. What does it mean to treat mitzvot as commandments? And indeed, one perspective is that halakha, this collection of mitzvot and how to observe them, is Jewish law, and the way we show allegiance to law is by following the law, and any deviance is indication of some sort of faithlessness. And so when you have a phenomenon, like for example, he gives the example of observant Orthodox Jewish couples who hold hands, etc., before they're married. Is that cognitive dissonance? Is that some sort of indication that their loyalty to halakha is thin? And he wants to suggest in this article a different way of thinking about halakha, a way rooted in classic sources in which halakha is one factor among several when figuring out how to live, and he found really interesting examples. So, for example, the Dor Revi'i, Rabbi Glassner, writes about certain practices which are not forbidden by halakha because they're so ethically repugnant they don't need to be forbidden by halakha. Okay, like cannibalism. There's no prohibition in the Torah against eating people because we don't need a mitzvah. It's so repugnant anyway, right? That suggests there's a whole framework for guidance of how to live our lives, which is independent from the sphere of halakha and mitzvah, right? We don't eat people, not because there are mitzvot against eating people, but because we have an independent recourse to an independent frame of values that tell us not to eat people. Another interesting example, the Baal Tanya, the first rabbi of Chabad, wrote his own Shulchan Aruch, where he gives his halachic guidance following what he felt was appropriate rules for determining halachic questions. Then he also edited a Siddur in which he contradicts himself. Because there's, in writing his own Shulchan Aruch, he felt there's a certain a genre of halachic writing, a certain way in which halachic decisions are reached. But then when he wrote his Siddur, he felt there were other considerations, certain Kabbalistic, mystical valuations that he felt should weigh as well into the calculus of determining how we should actually act. And Shai Kivner-Wozner in this article gives a very interesting analogy, which again popped right up. It's really a David Leonhardt's Times article, in which he asks us, imagine a situation of an actor who finally is given a breakthrough role after years of auditions. He's cast in a leading role in a play, and part of this role is going to come on stage at each performance, and he has to smoke a cigarette, half a cigarette, as part of his performance on stage. So he doesn't smoke. He goes to speak to his doctor. He asks his doctor, can I smoke this cigarette? Is that a reasonable thing to do as part of this acting role? And I think a responsible doctor has to say, I can never endorse even half a cigarette per performance over, I don't know, however long the play will be showing in theaters. Okay, I can't endorse that because my job as a physician is to maximize health. Health as a category, as a value system, which is an ultimate value system. And my job as a physician is to give medical advice, and I can never countenance even one cigarette. But I think the rest of us might very well understand that different people would make different decisions given that situation, but we would understand that somebody would say, well, health would tell me not to take this acting role, but holistically looking at my life and my values and how I want to live and my goals that I want to achieve, I'm going to take this role and I'm going to smoke that cigarette, one cigarette per performance for the months that this play is in theaters. And maybe halakha then is a source of wisdom, a source of guidance, and we can be and a way divine wisdom for good living that's imposed on us as in a total way, but we can be understanding that people think about halakha as one input among several. So I find this is a very provocative idea. I think it has some merit, and I think it deserves further thought than we can devote to it in this brief time together. But as I sort of saw David Leonhardt, this came to mind, and I'm eager to sort of continue this conversation with you. I wish you all a wonderful Shabbat, and hope to see you in the coming days.